Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today's story is about a reservation that meant everything to one couple and absolutely nothing to someone who decided rules were optional. In a cozy restaurant with limited tables, a single act of entitlement manages to derail an entire evening in a matter of minutes. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. An entitled customer sat at a reserved table and ruined everything. I work at a restaurant, one of those small, local, slightly cutesy bistros that people like to call a hidden gem. We're not super upscale or pretentious, but we're almost always fully booked because we're in a great location and we only have a handful of tables. It's cozy, intimate, and very much a place where atmosphere matters. People come here for dates, anniversaries, quiet celebrations, that sort of thing. Because of that, we sometimes get special reservation requests. Not constantly, but often enough that it's not weird. People ask for specific tables, extra privacy, maybe a bit of decor. As long as they're polite and realistic, we're usually happy to help. It's nice, honestly, and feels good to be part of someone's special moment. So a few days ago, we got an email from a woman saying she wanted to bring her boyfriend in to celebrate a very special occasion. I won't say exactly what it was because it was clearly personal, but it was a big deal to her. She wasn't demanding or entitled about it at all. She just asked if she could pay in advance to reserve a more secluded table and have it lightly decorated. That kind of email is the best case scenario. She was kind, clear, and respectful. We immediately said yes. We picked a small corner of the restaurant, a little nook that's technically still part of the dining room, but tucked away enough that you can't really see into it unless you're deliberately looking. Nothing over the top, just thoughtful. We put up some soft string lights, a few candles, and flowers. Simple, but romantic. She also came in earlier that evening to add something of her own to the table. Again, I won't say exactly what it was, but it was very clearly a personal item, not expensive or flashy, just meaningful. The kind of thing you could tell she'd thought about for a long time. She was nervous, but excited, and honestly, it was really sweet. Fast forward to that night. The couple arrives, gives me their last name, and I immediately recognize it. I'm smiling, already mentally running through the evening to make sure everything goes smoothly. I grab the menus, turn and lead them toward their special table. And then my stomach drops, because sitting at that table, their table, are an older woman and a small child. Their coats are draped over the chairs, there's a bag on the floor, the kid has stuff spread out like they've settled in for the long haul. Turns out they somehow decided that the "please wait to be seated" sign didn't apply to them, or the "reserve" sign, or the "closed for private events" sign we'd placed right there very clearly. They'd walk straight past everything while no one was looking. There were only 2 of us on the floor that night because the place is small, and just claimed the table. For a brief moment, I honestly thought maybe they were just oblivious. Some people really do have zero situational awareness, so I approached them as calmly and politely as I could, even though I could feel the couple standing right behind me. I explained that the table was reserved and that the restaurant was fully booked. The older woman did not take that well. She immediately started yelling about how no one had come to take their order and how they'd been waiting forever. She spoke over me when I tried to explain again that the table was reserved for a private event. She said she didn't care. She said every other restaurant on the block was full. She said she and her grandson had every right to be there. At that point, it was very clear she knew exactly what she was doing. My coworker came over to help, and the argument went on far longer than it should have. We explained, she argued. We explained again, she raised her voice more. Eventually, we told her that if she didn't leave, we would call the police to have her removed. Only then did she finally give up. By the time they left, the damage was already done. The mood was completely ruined. The couple was trying to stay composed, and they were incredibly kind to us, but it was obvious how upset the woman was. To make things worse, while the kid was sitting there, he had messed with the personal item she had placed on the table earlier. It wasn't broken, but the moment was gone. The surprise was spoiled. You could tell she was on the verge of tears, and honestly, I was too. She'd put so much thought into this, trusted us with something meaningful, and it got derailed by someone who simply decided the rules didn't apply to her. I've heard plenty of stories about working in the service industry, but this was my first real encounter with that level of entitlement. I'm just a student doing this a few nights a week for some extra money. I don't get paid enough to emotionally recover from this kind of nonsense. My absolute deepest condolences to anyone who deals with this crap full time. I genuinely don't know how you do it. This is beyond entitlement and right into downright ignorant, rude behavior. The old bat had to know that table was not a normal setup, but she simply didn't care. She somehow decided at some point in her life that she's special and entitled to take whatever she wants. I simply loathe people like her. She took something that didn't belong to her and stole an important event for the two people she trampled over, letting her grandkid destroy someone else's property. The horrible thing is she knew it was wrong and didn't care. I can only hope she'll be put firmly in her place at some point, but I'm sure she'd see herself as the victim anyway. Where do these people get the nerve? I'll never understand that part. And our next story. I work at a plasma donation center in the U.S. For anyone who doesn't know how it works, yes, donors get paid for donating plasma here. The single fact alone explains a lot about the kind of environment we work in. Plasma centers attract plenty of perfectly normal, polite people who just want to donate and leave, but they also attract a steady stream of interesting characters. People who believe that because money's involved, they're automatically entitled to whatever outcome they want. They are not. So before I get into the story, let me clear up a few things that a shocking number of donors either don't understand or pretend not to understand. First, you're not entitled to get paid. Payment is never guaranteed. You are paid only if you successfully complete a donation. If you don't pass screening, you don't donate, and therefore you don't get paid. That's not punishment. That's how the system works. Second, plasma donation can be dangerous. We're literally removing part of your blood. If you're temporarily deferred, whether it's for hydration, protein levels, pulse, blood pressure, hematocrit, or anything else, it's for your safety, not ours. Not the company's, yours. Third, unlike retail or food service, we don't have to tolerate abuse. If you yell at us, scream, throw a tantrum, or harass staff, we can and absolutely will ban you permanently. Plasma donation's not a right. It's a medical procedure with strict rules, and behavior matters. Now that that's out of the way, let me introduce Karen. Karen came in already irritated. You can usually tell within the first 30 seconds when someone's going to be a problem. The sighing, the eye rolling, the attitude that says, I shouldn't have to be here, but you people are lucky I showed up. Karen had that vibe in spades. She was being screened by my coworker. Screening's the first step before donation. We check vitals, blood pressure, pulse, temperature, and we take a small blood sample. Every single measurement has a very specific acceptable range. Those ranges are non-negotiable because they're based on medical safety standards. Some vitals can be retaken once, exactly once, that's it. More than that is considered testing by compliance, which is a big no-no under CLIA regulations. We can't just keep retaking measurements until we get a number you like. My coworker retook Karen's vitals and then said very calmly and professionally, I'm sorry, ma'am, this measurement's still out of range. You'll have to try again tomorrow. Karen did not take that well. What? That's crazy, she snapped. I'll miss out on the promotion. For context, our center offers a promotion pay rate for new donors. Miss a day and you might miss that higher payout. That sucks, but again, safety comes first. My coworker replied, I know, I'm sorry. Karen immediately escalated. Can't you just take the measurement again? Unfortunately, no, my coworker said. We can only take this measurement twice. Karen threw her hands up. That's crazy. Why? Those are the rules, ma'am. I have to follow them. Oh, because X measurement was too high, Karen demanded. No, my coworker corrected. It was actually Y measurement. Karen paused, then said, oh, it was Y measurement? But the other day I saw one of your coworkers let a man donate when he was 2 points below one of his measurements. At this point, we all knew where this was going. I don't know anything about that, my coworker said. We have to follow the rules. I want to talk to who's in charge, Karen snapped, in private. While we were waiting for the manager, Karen pulled out her phone and started loudly complaining to a friend. And of course, she left out most of the relevant facts. She claimed, loudly enough for us to hear, the other day they let a white man go through when he was 2 points below. Yes, she made it about race. Karen happened to be black, and while it's true that one specific measurement, hematocrit, can trend lower in African American donors, that was not the measurement she was deferred for. Even if it had been, we do not adjust medical standards based on race. We defer based on numbers, period. If we let anyone donate out of range and they had a bad reaction, the company would be liable, and more importantly, the donor could be seriously harmed. My manager arrived and took Karen into a private room, and shockingly, she said the exact same thing my coworker already had. We can only take your measurement twice. You'll need to come back tomorrow. Karen immediately brought up the other donor again. You let a man donate when he was 2 points low. My manager replied very clearly, we do not let anyone donate with an out-of-range measurement. This is not an opinion. Our computer system literally will not allow us to proceed if a value is out of range. We can't overwrite it. We can't fudge it. We can't even correct a typo without restarting the whole process. Karen snapped, Are you calling me a liar? I think you may have misunderstood what was happening, my manager said calmly. The medical historian was likely warning him that his measurement was close to being too low. We do that so donors can avoid being deferred in the future. You understand? Karen claimed she understood, then immediately walked out, got back on the phone, and said, I don't understand. This is crazy, before storming out. Despite all of his begging, Karen was not banned. Personally, I think she should have been. She accused staff of discrimination, refused to listen, and caused a scene. So here's the takeaway. If you donate plasma, understand that this is a medical process, not a retail transaction. And if this story sounds familiar to you, be very careful next time you come in. Not every manager is as patient. We don't have to put up with this bullcrap. Sorry, as you've displayed Karen behavior, we are unable to accept any blood or other donations from you. It's been recognized that Karenism is a communicable disease. And our next story. She set me up to be fired. It didn't work. At one point in my career, I was managing a small team in a mid-sized company. Most of the job was exactly what you'd expect, juggling deadlines, keeping clients happy, and making sure nothing quietly went off the rails. Then I was assigned a new hire. I'll call her Karen because it fits. Karen was in her mid-20s, fresh out of university, and absolutely overflowing with confidence. She could talk endlessly about her vision, her projects, and her long-term career plans. But when it came time to actually deliver results, there was never much to show. Clients started reaching out directly to me, asking why they hadn't heard back from her. When I raised it with her, she always had a ready-made explanation. The client was unreasonable. Her inbox was overloaded. The replies must have gone to spam. She was just so busy. It was always something, just never her responsibility. After a particularly frustrating monthly review, I sat her down and told her plainly that the situation couldn't continue. I explained that if she was overwhelmed, she needed to say so because part of my job was reallocating work before things collapsed. I wasn't interested in disciplining her. I just wanted transparency. If you tell me everything is fine while deadlines are quietly being missed and clients are getting angry, that's a problem. I proposed a compromise, a brief weekly check-in on Monday mornings. 10 minutes tops, just a quick overview of priorities and a chance to flag any issues early. I knew no one enjoys being monitored, so I kept it deliberately light. She nodded along, said all the right things, and immediately began resenting me for it. Unbeknownst to me, she was also plotting. Part of my role gave me access to a company purchasing card. It wasn't issued in my name, but I was authorized to use it for small operational expenses or occasional client-related costs under a strict limit. The card was kept in a shared office that I used with another manager, and access was tightly controlled. One afternoon, our finance department called asking about a few charges that didn't look right: streaming services, food delivery, software subscriptions. I told them I hadn't made those purchases and suggested they confirm with the other manager who had access. He denied any involvement as well. The following Monday, I was called into a meeting with senior leadership. Finance had traced the transactions further. Not only were the accounts set up under my name, but the email addresses associated with them were eerily similar to my own, close enough to look legitimate at a glance. Sitting in that room was surreal. I felt nauseous. I had no idea how to defend myself against something that made absolutely no sense. The director talked about policy violations, misuse of company resources, and trust. I insisted I hadn't authorized any of it, but I could tell skepticism was creeping in. Worse, I started doubting myself. I wondered if I'd accidentally saved the card somewhere or if my spouse had unknowingly used it. I kept apologizing while trying to explain that I understood the rules and would never knowingly violate them. It was humiliating. When I finally left the meeting, still employed but clearly under suspicion, Karen was waiting outside my office. She smiled brightly and asked if we were still doing our check-in. I told her we'd reschedule. She tilted her head and casually asked, "Oh, will you still be here tomorrow?" I said, "Yes," confused. She shrugged, took a sip of her drink, and walked away. That was when the real unease really set in. I spent the rest of the day retracing every step. I contacted the vendors directly, confirming account details. Everything pointed to intentional misuse, not an accident. The turning point came with the food delivery charges. When I spoke to customer support, they confirmed the delivery location. It was local. That ruled out hackers, stolen data, and random fraud. Someone nearby had done this deliberately. I pulled up Karen's HR profile and checked her listed address. Then I mapped the delivery location. It wasn't her apartment, but it was right around the corner. After hours, I contacted IT and requested access to her work laptop. What I found removed all doubt. One of the email accounts saved on her machine matched the fraudulent account exactly. Password saved, sessions logged, everything. She'd been careful, using the office network, disguising delivery locations, but careless enough to leave evidence sitting on a company device. That evening, I called my boss and explained everything. IT backed me up, confirming the digital trail. The tone of the conversation shifted instantly. The next morning, she was called into a closed-door meeting. It didn't last long. When she walked out, red-faced and shaking, I happened to be in the hallway, quietly drinking tea. It had gone cold. I didn't care. I later reimbursed the company personally for the fraudulent charges, including one final food delivery to her address, courtesy of my own card. She was terminated. My name was cleared. Leadership apologized. I left the company a few months later on good terms for a better role. No police reports were filed. No dramatic confrontation. Just consequences. And a reminder that micromanagement may be unpleasant, but betrayal is far worse. The fact that she smiled at you right after that leadership meeting says she already pictured you packing a box. There's a particular kind of arrogance in assuming everyone else is too busy or too trusting to notice a paper trail. She played a risky game with full confidence it would land on your shoulders, and she never considered that digital records don't lie. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.